Welcome to Chat About Movies. I'm your host, Tegan. This show is about talking about our favorite shows or movies, ones that we like, ones we don't like if we want to. We talk about the personalities of the characters and the stories we like. What are the few you liked rebooted or not? And the possibility of them being in real life. So buckle up and we'll see how we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chat About Movies. And I have a few questions for Joanna. What is your favorite movie?
When I was a kid, my favorite movie was probably Back to the Future. All of the series, really.
Have you rewatched any of those films?
Not recently. I did rewatch it when I was maybe like 5 years ago or even longer than that. Yeah.
What was it that you liked about the show?
Well, it was that I liked the idea that somebody could change their future and reality, and it's kind of like I like the idea that this young person can make things better by actively changing things and digging into the past and looking at just kind of it helped me, I think, as a kid just visualize what the future could be like and what the past is like, and kind of for me help imagine what a kind of different life could be like. And I really enjoyed that, and I also thought it was just really fun.
What did it make you feel?
I was rooting for the good guys, and so it was sort of exciting in that, and I was just kind of it was an escapism. It helped me escape how I was feeling at the time when things were like less certain for me at points in my life as a child. I always really enjoyed that film. That film was like this portal into another kind of world. And yeah, I loved that as a kid. So,
Did you ever see yourself in the show?
Oh yeah, all the time. I would always imagine what it would be like if I was there in the film. Absolutely.
Did you see yourself as Marty McFly or another character?
Kind of just as myself helping Marty McFly, being like, I've watched this, I know what's going to happen. And also I kind of thought like how it is so interesting that like by going into the future, how going back into the past, he can change the future. It's just really cool. That kind of concept of time jumping is really cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joe. So let's see who else would like to answer a few questions. How about you, Dave?
Well, I have a lot, really. I have lots of favourite films. One of them is, give you sort of my top five. My first of all, my number five was actually Tot and the Kangaroo, because that was actually my first ever childhood film. Because I remember my dad used to take me to the place where I thought it was TV. I thought it was really my dad never forget it. Because he remembers me saying, "Oh, Dad, can you actually take me to the place with the big TVs?" So anyway, that was that. Number four would have to be Mrs. Doubtfire. I absolutely love that film. In the fact of like how he has to have Robin Williams' character has to dress up as a woman to actually try to get connected to his kids. Dress up as a woman, try to get into kids after a messy divorce, and really wants to get to know them. Another one, number three, would be the Aladdin. My very first ever introduction to Robin Williams and cartoons. Loved it. Thought it was pretty incredible. Beauty and the Beast. Remember, I did enjoy that. Yes, sadly, sadly a Disney, sort of a Disney, bit of a Disney tragic myself. But the final one, which is still always in my mind, it always brings a tear to my eye in so many levels. One of the most amazing films ever, in my own mind, of how the world is and going. Forrest Gump. It's just a fascinating one because it was during the time of the Vietnam War and how things progressed. Even though things are happening around the world, it's like we shouldn't judge.
How did you feel with all this?
At the end, I always, I feel such heart and joy in it, but I also feel a really strong sense of sadness. I always it always brings a tear to my eye when his love of his life, Jenny, sadly passes away, and because in those sorts of scenes, there was so much memories that they both shared as children because they grew up together, and yet she had a tough life. He had a reasonable also a tough life as well. But although, for me personally, it's like, I always feel like, why should we actually judge people and who they
Have you rewatched any of these films?
Yeah, always, all the time. Whenever it's on, I always watch it.
Have you noticed any of these in a different light?
Yeah, look, I do like watch. Sometimes I like rewatching them as like just sort of connections of childhood. And especially with I always find also at times with Mrs. Doubtfire as well. Always love looking at the comedy, but also the series. Yeah, no, they're always good, strong reflections of how things are.
Has there been any that seemed familiar to you?
Seem familiar. Great question. Well, for me personally, I strongly feel Forrest Gump, absolutely Forrest Gump. From everything from photography to the music, but also to the realms of how the world is, and how Strickland being brought up by his mum, being brought up by things that had a huge influence on his life, and yeah.
Did you ever see yourself as the main character in any of them?
Yeah, I did. Totally definitely Forrest Gump. I always feel as if it's like, we shouldn't judge around, especially around Forrest Gump. Why should we judge people?
I think we might have enough for now, so let's see for the next one. Seb, how would you like to tell us what your favorite movie is?
I was just thinking of one that I have rewatched recently that I really liked as a kid, and that is Neverending Story.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think I really liked the sort of like the fantasy elements, and yeah, I always love those escapist kind of fantasy adventure things, and one of those movies that the lead character, I think Atreyu was a kid as well, so it was like the main character is like a similar age to you, so you can identify with them. And also his name was Bastian and my name's Sebastian, so it was like he used the other part of my name to shorten his name, which is weird. So I sort of felt like him. And then there's like a cool giant flying dog thing. Yeah.
Did you often see yourself as the main character?
Yeah, especially since he basically had my name. Yeah.
How did it make you feel watching that show?
It's pretty good at sort of hitting on a lot of emotions, that film. Like, you get like scared at some points, you get really sad when like the horse gets sucked into the bog. And yeah, like there are sort of like funny moments and exciting moments. Yeah.
Have you ever seen it in a new light?
Yeah, it was really interesting watching it again for my friend's birthday. Um, just like, a couple of months ago, seeing it again. And I felt like it holds up really well. Um, yeah, and I was surprised at how much I remembered of it. Like, yeah, and just the outfits and the the kind of special effects at the time and like the practical effects, they still looked really good, and I felt like it held up really well.
Does it ever look familiar to you?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you would be. I mean, yeah, it was interesting seeing it again and remembering things from it that I didn't think I remembered, like the giant rock creatures and things like that. But yeah, I did always do that thing where I would sort of, if I watched a film as a kid, then like when you're out in the world, you sort of see things that remind you of the film, and just like even looking at the sky in certain ways, there was like if you go flying in a plane and you're looking down at the clouds, that always sort of reminds me of the Neverending Story for some reason.
Well, my next question is, do you think you might have met these characters at some point?
No, but that would be very cool. I would have liked to have met characters, Catherine and the princess and the luck dragon. I mean, that would be so cool to meet the luck dragon and get a ride on it. But no, I never met them in real life.
Okay, I think we might need to move along for now. So thanks for that, Seb.
Thanks, Tegan.
Erin, what would be your favorite movie?
I've actually got a few. The Lion King, because it's all about finding your way through difficulty and finding your way. So finding your way and having a purpose and making your purpose heard. Beauty and the Beast, same thing. It's about finding a dream, making that purpose and making yourself heard. Aladdin, same thing. I also love Robin Williams as the genie. He plays a great genie. And it's also, Aladdin has a dream and he pursues it and he gets there. Dirty Dancing, which is another one. It's about the character Baby and how she was dreaming to go off to college, but then she really wants to be a dancer. It's about having a dream and pursuing it. Forrest Gump, which is another one, having a dream and pursuing it.
Did you feel like you can relate to these characters?
I can, because, we all have dreams. And in order to make those dreams a reality, we have to pursue them and force forward and knock down any barriers that we come across or who hit us.
Have you rewatched any of these movies lately?
I have watched Dirty Dancing. I haven't watched the others though. I have watched The Lion King. It's just interesting seeing them in a different light.
How so?
Well, like when you're 10, you don't look at it as a young cub, as trying to find his way to being king. You look at it, it's a story about a young lion who loses his father and he's got a wicked uncle. And Beauty and the Beast, Belle wants to find true love, but she finds it in a beast. But it takes the beast a while to get the idea of love and the idea of acceptance and the idea that the other villagers around him don't allow him to be accepted, like Gaston wants to kill him rather than accept him. Aladdin wants to be, you know, accepted into the modern day society, and he's not. Like, he's known as a street rat. And he, you know, finds the princess, and the princess shows him how to do it. Dirty Dancing, baby was, you know, groomed up to go to college and all of this stuff, and then he meets Johnny, and then Johnny persuades her to dance, and she loves it. Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks, who are absolutely loving this role, pursues something as in, if you can't do something, I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what the consequences are.
Have you often seen yourself as the main character yourself?
Yes, in Forrest Gump I have. And in Dirty Dancing, like, if someone tells you no, you go ahead and do it anyway. And in all these films have all sort of got a hidden message. Someone tells you you can't do something, I go ahead and do it anyway.
Have you ever tried to reenact some of these?
No, but I would like to.
If you could, which one would it be?
Probably Dirty Dancing.
Okay, I think we've got enough of that. So, thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.
And our final one would be Ryan. So, what would be your favorite movie?
Okay, so I've got a few in mind, but the ones that I can really narrow it down to are the first two Terminator movies, the early X-Men franchise, the Matrix, and Jaws being a few of them.
That's an interesting selection.
Yeah.
Have you rewatched any of those films lately?
Maybe the second Terminator 2 weeks ago. Just a few scenes, not the full movie as such.
Have you seen any of these shows in a new light?
Well, a favorite show that I had, I was very much into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was a very transformative time for me. I used to reenact several scenes from that show alone, probably as a method of moving my body or reenacting scenes that I saw, which is really cool.
Have you ever reenacted some of these scenes?
Probably at one time, I used to love both Ace Ventura movies with Jim Carrey. I thought he was absolutely hilarious and the funniest guy alive. So some of the more ridiculous scenes, like closing a glass door while screaming, while reverberates through the noise while I'm closing the door and just screaming. So it's actually, you know, making noise when I open and it's quiet when I shut. So I do reenact some of that. When Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw were getting drunk on the Orca in Jaws, that was a fantastic scene. I used to love reenacting that. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it really spoke to their budding bromance when they're hanging out on the boat together hunting a killer shark. Yeah, I love stuff like that.
Does any of them seem familiar to you?
Or not commonly, but I wish I saw more people like Jim Carrey walking around the streets, or maybe if like really, really cold and emotionless, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. I thought that would be really nice, but no, I haven't seen anyone too commonly that I can associate with such tropes.
How do you make you feel watching these shows?
Well, I used to feel like very heightened, like I could do anything through watching it. So maybe a sense of power personally for myself that I didn't have in real life, that I like to sort of grab onto and use that to reenact the scenes that I saw because I thought that was so awesome. Yeah, a lot of that stuff with the X-Men franchise and the Terminator, they've really reinforced my desire for performance acting. So doing all that stuff in private really sort of made me think maybe this should be something I could do in my future, or if I could maybe take some of my self choreography and apply that to a future profession, something like that. So I did feel very empowered by performing such activity.
Do you often see yourself as the main character?
Loads of times. Characters like Wolverine, Rambo, John McClane, very much the action man stereotype, or I love a lot of drama as well. So maybe some stuff with Kevin Bacon or Michael Fassbender that I really loved emanating and recreating. I still do it now with a few films that I find. So it is very common for me that I like to reenact main characters or heroes of films, or however it goes on most kind of genres, if not all.
Have you seen shows that have either been remade or made as a newer version?
Oh, maybe the American take on Wilfred, which was the Australian TV show from 10 years ago, or 2007, I think it was. So I have seen the American version with Elijah Wood as the new guy that was being bossed around by the anthropomorphic dog. So that was new.
How exactly does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm the kind of person who likes appreciating the new things that can be applied to something that has been done before. So obviously when I look at something that's new that I know has been done before, it's I don't want to say derivative, but it's not very original in my eyes. I like them trying to do something different, but not apply the same tired process to the story that's trying to make, if that makes any sense. So I like appreciating that something different can be done, but not so much when a story is so ripened and dry that it can't really crack any juice. So yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I think that's all we got for today. So until next time, I hope you've had a good day. And that was Chat About Movies. I hope you all enjoyed that and gained some valuable insight. I'm Tegan, and this has been Echo Collective. I hope to see you next time.